Previously on Podcast Without Pretense.
You know what? I love it when my movies make perfect sense, and even if they're foreign films, the subtitles always are incredibly helpful.
So are you seeing that I'm in Jonathan's box? I'm in his box.
There's no way he got out of that without getting something in his eye.
Another spectacular episode back in the day when we did that episode.
Yeah.
It was something.
That time when we did that thing.
That's
What's
true.
Really
that was
weird,
the
there's like literally, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I've looked through the archives and there's literally there are half of the episodes missing. Like all the previously episodes, actually technically 2/3 of the episodes are missing. Because 1/3 are the ones immediately before an episode, and the other third is the ones after an episode. And not only that, all three of us tend to wear the exact same outfits 3 episodes in a row.
Well, I think we do a lot of double recording, so that's one of the things. So I don't know why you forget that. But I know Eric's in charge of the archives, and I know that we're going to have the archives up at gfqnetwork.com, and you're going to kind of convert.
It's going to be confusing, though, because the episode numbers, we're only getting 1/3 of them, but they're all going up in sequential numerals. So
there's
when they're
a lot
added in, they're all going to be out of order.
Yeah, there's a lot of half episodes missing and things like that. It's,
I'm Jonathan Strickland.
I'm Ayaz Akhtar.
I'm Eric Sandine.
And together, we are 3 of the greatest lovers of each other in all the world.
Well,
yeah, okay.
If you count like when you favorite somebody's tweets enough, I guess that would be.
Yeah, that probably happens.
I don't know if that's love.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, I'm using the word love as I understand it to be, but I have a very, kind of limited understanding of the concept. So.
Yeah, for Jonathan, love is about donating body parts, internal organs, which I don't really know why. Yeah, it's an oddball thing. Like some cats will give you like dead animals, like a bird or a mouse, and like, hey, look at this. But Jonathan, you have to give like livers and intestines, and it's really. I've been meaning to talk to you about this, but it's kind of sad.
It's a prolonged campaign of forceful donation that I'm running. It's really the way I like to think of it. Hey, I got a quick question for the two of you guys. So
what is
how far into this week's movie did you get before you hit some sort of moment where you either paused the film or opened up some kind of distracting device or something along those lines? Because that is what we do on this show. We try and watch movies to see how far we can get with our undivided attention. Then we write down the time that we made it, and then we can continue watching the film or not if we choose. And this week we watched the movie Feng Shui, which was my choice. How far did you guys get?
Eric, why don't you go first?
I made it 15 minutes in. I paused for 2 reasons. One was, I can't believe I'm watching this. And the second one was, how the hell long is this?
How far did you say? 15 or 50?
15 minutes. I mean, I finished it, but 15 minutes without anything. Yeah.
All right. Ayaz?
2 minutes, 26 seconds. And here's why. I was like, it was just after work. My phone buzzed, and I looked at it, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm free. I'm free. So I decided to take out a laptop to write some notes while I was paying attention to this movie. I did not finish this movie, although I fast forwarded it after 50 minutes because I was like, is this ever going to get any good? And I got my notes. And Jonathan, how long did you make it in Feng Shui?
42 minutes.
What?
Before I paused.
How?
Okay, first of all, I just want to say I'm not sorry, even a little bit. This is a movie that it forces you to pay attention if you want to have any inkling of whatever the hell is going on. And even then, it's kind of a coin flip situation. So it was made in Thailand, I think? And,
Thailand's correct.
All right, so it's made in Thailand, and it's subtitled, not dubbed. So you can't look away from the screen or else you're going to miss important dialogue that may or may not give you a hint as to what is actually happening. It's it's linear for the most part, although you find out at the end that the segment you've watched is essentially a flashback. But it's actually linear chronologically. But there's so many different individual stories going on, and there's so many characters who are almost indistinguishable from one another. That there are times where I was like, "Hey, I thought that guy died. Oh, that was a different guy. There were two guys." And it doesn't help that two of them are identical twins.
It's like we're not being racist right away. By the way, we're being subtly racist.
No,
but
I'm not saying they all looked alike. I'm saying that the characters were indistinguishable from one another. The characters, not just their because a character could look differently from one scene to the next, right? So it wasn't an appearance thing so much as the characters. None of them seemed distinguishable in any way. They were all pretty much the same character, with the exception of the adopted brother character and the uber evil Feng Shui master. So I guess we need to talk about what this movie is about in general. First, I want to say I was so hopeful, because the early sequence where it's at a funeral. And there's this one male character who is being very dismissive of the funeral process and the grieving process and the honoring of the dead. Because keep in mind, this is very much ingrained in a particular part of Thailand culture. So he's dismissive of it, and then the caretaker of the cemetery says in a very kind of creepy foreshadowing way, "I will see you really soon." And the guy walks out into the street and is immediately hit by a truck. And it is the worst special effect I have seen in so long that I immediately thought this was going to be the best movie of all time.
I think at that point
he flies off the screen. He flies up off the screen and then back into frame, exactly where he had been standing. And I thought, this is going to be the best movie ever.
Now, this is before I cut out at 2:26. So keep in mind that this happens in the first couple of minutes, and the first minute or so is actually like credits. Yeah. And it's, I was just really hoping as well. I'm like, okay, maybe this would be interesting. Unusually for the subtitles, they weren't like placed in by Netflix. They're like burned onto the video. You have a letterboxing going on, but it's just on the bottom. So it's visually very odd looking. And maybe it was just me when I was watching the video, but the stream quality I had, it looked like just terribly encoded. Did it look any better for you guys?
No, whoever did the transfer on this was like, there were the audio clipped out at multiple times during the movie.
Okay, I thought my speakers were freaking out.
No, it was a bad transfer.
No, there were some points where I was wondering if the audio clipping was actually a choice, because it sounded like I was wondering if that was supposed to be kind of a way to tell the audience that something supernatural is kind of happening. Because there was some clicking where I was thinking there wasn't even any dialogue going on, and it was just the clipping sound you were getting. And I thought, I wonder if this was a choice, like this was something that was purposefully put into the movie, although it seems unlikely. There were plenty of times where characters were talking and their voices were starting to get loud, where they were blowing out the mics. Yep. The mics were peaking, and you were getting this distortion at those levels. And it just made me think that, that clearly they didn't get a very clean sound take on when they were on location. They never bothered to do any kind of ADR or anything. So technically speaking, there were a lot of issues with that. The special effects are pretty terrible, including things like weird animations of green energy type stuff flying around, like essentially evil energy that gets repelled by good feng shui or invited in by bad feng shui. But the odd thing is it's only in one sequence, and then we never see that again. Like we never see the green energy pop up again. It's in one little moment. It's just to really show that a piece of artwork that the good feng shui master has suggested someone hang up repels the evil energy. But we never see the evil energy again, which is kind of weird. The general plot is that you've got a family. It gets a little complicated. You've got a family. I think, if I'm not mistaken, and I could be, I think there are two natural-born sons of the family, two daughters of the family, and then the adopted brother, the guy who was taken in when his parents had died. And so I think there's 5 of the younger members of the family in total. And the only reason I say that is because there's one point where I'm absolutely certain one of the sons has been killed, but there's still another son hanging around. And I'm like, did I miss? There must have been another member of the family that I didn't put two and two together.
As far as I can remember and understood, there were 5. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right. And my note says apparently the old man is the father to every character in this movie.
Yeah.
Because like everybody who shows up, they're calling him Pa or Father. And I'm like, it seems like every time I look back up, somebody different is calling him Father. So I'm pretty sure that I remember the 2 girls, the 2 boys, and the one who said he was adopted. So I'm assuming that was 5. And I know that the Netflix description said something about somebody liking his stepsister or something like that.
Right. So
yeah. I thought like initially that he was a grandfather or something, but yeah, then like eventually I was like, okay, he's got to be a father.
Yeah, he's the dad, and there's a quite an age range with the children too. But the father and mother, the father is a very successful businessman who's about to open up a warehouse, an office, and so he's consulting with someone that everyone calls Uncle, although I was never really clear if he and the guy everyone called Uncle were actually brothers or not. I don't know if that was just kind of a term of respect. Don't know. Like, this guy is so close to our family, we call him Uncle. Whatever. Anyway, the Uncle character is a Feng Shui master. So the father, the old man, goes to consult with the Feng Shui master to make sure that the new warehouse and office are constructed and decorated in such a way as to invite success and good fortune. There's a lot about Feng Shui in this movie, not surprisingly, since it's called Feng Shui. A lot of it has to do not just with the arrangement of a home or office, but also in funeral procedures and the way that you place a tombstone or a gravesite to make sure that you have favorable conditions after you've passed away. Because, as it turns out, we find out in this culture that if you have bad feng shui when you are buried, bad fortune falls upon your family for generations, like multiple generations, like 5 or 6. And you're thinking, wow, don't bury mom and dad in a bad way, because it's going to just haunt you, literally, if you do that. So you've got this story where the good feng shui master is telling everyone where to put stuff, but the good feng shui master nearly dies and then actually dies. And I don't know why that sequence even happened in the movie, because his near death and then later on his actual death are separated by like a scene, and nothing significant happens between the 2 scenes. So there's literally no reason for him to have almost died, not, and then died. But at any rate, he passes away. His son is going to take up being a feng shui master, but his son is kind of a kooky screw-up, who we don't really see until a little bit later in the movie. Meanwhile, we've got the adopted son, who is certainly romantically interested in the eldest daughter. The eldest daughter's hand in marriage has been promised to another person who is the son of a gold merchant, I think, jewelry merchant, something like that. And so it's an arranged marriage apparently, but she actually does have feelings for this guy too. She is romantically attracted to the guy who's the son of the gold merchant, not to her adopted brother. The father essentially tells the adopted brother, "You bring shame on our family with the way you look at my daughter." And this whole time I'm thinking, this is kind of an interesting, weird cultural thing, because literally if this character had been brought up by anybody else, because he isn't related to this family, if he had been brought up by anybody else, there would be no problem with his attraction to the eldest daughter. He's not related by blood at all. It's just that he was brought up in the same family.
So it's like Clueless. He's like Paul Rudd's character, and the girl is like Alicia Silverstone. So if you haven't seen Clueless, and you don't want to watch Feng Shui, and you want to watch something in English, Clueless is effectively the closest movie that we have to this.
Yeah, so he's not even really her stepbrother, right? Because the mother and father have been married to one another the whole time. He's not from another marriage. He was adopted, not a stepbrother. He's an adopted brother. At any rate, he decides that he wants to get this eldest daughter, and he has to get the parents out of the way. He wants to get control of the business, so that way he could be in a position of power and thus be able to woo the daughter. Now, at this point, he's not necessarily going so far as to think he's going to take the daughter and force her to be with him. He thinks that he's still going to be able to win her over. So he consults with the evil Feng Shui master, who's like cartoon villain evil. He's, not realistic at all as far as a villain goes. And he ends up setting things up so that essentially a curse falls on the family.
Wait.
But that does what?
Wait. What does a realistic evil Feng Shui master appear like to you, Jonathan? Because you are right, he is cartoonish, and I didn't think of it that way so much as he was like over the top. But what would a realistic evil Feng Shui person appear to be like?
I think like any other person, really. I don't think evil people tend to end up looking like they're super sinister. Evil people don't necessarily look like they're evil. This guy looked like if this were an English film, Christopher Lee would have played this character. That's pretty much how it would have.
If it's an American movie, it's Willem Dafoe. You're right. It's flat out.
Yeah. I mean, you go with that. You go with the person who has features that suit what we consider to be, menacing or dark or sinister. And so he sets things up, which essentially curses the family. And gradually we start to see that everyone in the family is being targeted by these forces in some way, to some degree or another. So you've got, I think, the youngest son, whose name is Boy, and that caused me some confusion. There's also the issue that the subtitles at this. What's that?
Just the boy thing, especially because then later on in the movie they call somebody else Boy, like different people, and I'm just sitting there going, "Wait, who the hell are we talking to at this point?"
Right. It took me a while to figure out that was the character's name. I thought they were just referring to him as a boy.
I think my actual note is, "Holy crap, his name is Boy."
Yeah. Which, it might be a common name in Thailand. I don't know. It's just that, unfortunately, it's also the same word as young man for us in English, so it was very confusing. Or maybe it's not that common in Thailand. My cultural ignorance runs deep as far as this goes. At any rate, he ends up, he's a gambler, so he's lost a lot of money, and so he ends up getting targeted pretty soon by the adopted brother character, and he gets taken out of the picture. The youngest daughter is psychic. She can sense when these things are happening. I don't remember. Oh, it was because she had died and come back from the dead when she was a baby. Her heart had stopped, and then it started again, and she was fine. You find out later that the Feng Shui, the good Feng Shui master's son, also died for 3 days as a baby, and then came back and was okay. So that was shocking. At any rate, this all kind of comes to a head where various characters, supplemental characters, die. Some of them are able to come back from the dead and help out our heroes as things come to a head between the Feng Shui master and the adopted brother versus the rest of the family, who have determined that the best way to defeat the Feng Shui master is to dig up their parents and rebury them in a way that is aligned with good feng shui. And this is the big action set piece, is the digging up and reburying of two people. And that's what everyone is rushing to at the end. Like, everyone's like, we got to get to the cemetery. And that also made me think, like, this could have been the greatest movie of all time. Like, the very beginning and the very end of this movie are so fucking awful and ridiculous and over the top that if the rest of the movie had been that way all the way through consistently, this would go up there right with Miami Connection. But it's not. It's mostly confusing. Also, there's a lot that depends upon Thai culture that doesn't have a correlative in Western culture. Like, they have a whole bone cleaning ceremony at the beginning of the movie that is very important to them, but to us would just seem macabre and unusual. So part of the issue I have is just, again, the big gap in cultures. But another part of it is that this movie was genuinely confusing and poorly made. That's all I have about it. I want to hear what you guys thought.
Okay, I've got my notes, which I'm gladly will read at any point. Eric, do you have anything you would like to say before I ramble on for about a minute?
Oh, my notes are probably about that long. So pretty much what happened was I watched up to my 50 minutes. Then I tried to take notes for maybe 20 minutes. And then I realized I couldn't pay attention if I was taking notes. So I missed a lot and ultimately ended up just very confused. But I don't think any of my notes are really even that important. Like, most of them are just like, you know, who the fuck is that and why are they dissolving? Oh, it was a dream. There's one point where I don't remember who's talking. I think it's the father, maybe. Not the father. They die early, right?
Not that early. They're about. It's a good. You're well into the film before the parents are.
Then it must have. Yeah, it was one of them, maybe. But there's some quote where it just seemed like a translation problem, but it was, he's saying, do something, complete my unfinished business for ... And the problem is that line takes maybe 2 to 3 minutes to say on screen. So you're sitting there going, the subtitle has to roll over. Like, there's more to this, right? And then he seems to die. I'm not sure what happened in that scene. I was very
there were a lot of moments of the movie that kind of reminded me of improv games where you have characters speaking in gibberish, and then you have other improvisers who are providing the translation. So the joke being that the ones speaking gibberish have to take whatever the translation is and pretend like that was in fact what they were trying to say. So you'll get people being like really intense and really angry, but the translation will be something like, "I happen to like fuzzy pants," and that's what the character said, even though they're being all intense and angry. And one of the go-to jokes of that kind of improv is the person who gives the super long like monologue in gibberish, and the translation seems to be something like "okay," like that's the that's the joke. That felt like this was happening a lot in this movie. So I guess we need to hear your notes.
Yeah, I try to take notes when I think I won't be able to pay attention. So, like, usually they were way more descriptive in the Jonathan Strickland style of, like, here's what's actually happening, and then I have a comment about it. You're not going to get that here. So just strap in for the ride of basically a stream of consciousness, because this is a bunch of bullshit. 2:26. Heard a buzz, glanced at my phone, and I'm out. Okay, apparently death hangs out at the graveyard, and he's petty as he mocks a man at his funeral. So it turns out it's the guy who works at the cemetery. There's a bone cleaning ceremonies up next. Apparently people hang out of their cars during this. There's a scene where people are driving past, and a couple guys are hanging out their passenger window or driver's side window, I guess, over there. I noticed the credits at the top right of the screen. I go to read them. It's not in English. And I realize I don't know why I'm looking at them, because it just kept happening in the early scenes, and I just kept reading, like, I don't read Thai. The subtitle movie is foreign looking because it is foreign. Oh, look, dead children, skeletons, and others. People all dressed in white passing around bones of the deceased. I'm unfamiliar with this ceremony. Bone cleaning ceremony could also be the great name of a porno. An old man speaks.
That's so disrespectful. I love it.
I'm sorry. An old man speaks of his mortality at the ceremony. Now we're at a factory. Master Kwong is the boss. His son works at the factory. The old man is dictating placement of things because I don't know why. Green lights are coming, and they're heading to the mirrors the old man told the factory workers to put up. So the old man knows his shit. Good. Back to the graveyard. Old man is walking around the cemetery to find a final resting place. Master Kwong sees old man without a head. He has like this weird vision of the old man without a head. And the old man is the dad at this point. I think he's the father of everyone, and is weirded out. Back to Master Kwang's house. Kwang has a mustache. Very important. Lights and cut. Don't know what that means. Master is found knocked out by his son. What is going on in this movie? Is it intentionally unclear? Did they just kill a baby in this movie? No. Whew. God damn. That's the point where there's a baby on screen. You see the thing flatline. Everyone's like, oh, no, he's dead. And then, like, he's back. Is this the time that the kid...
Wasn't that the youngest daughter? It turns out was that what I was thinking of? Where it's the youngest daughter, and it turns out she had died, and then she comes back, and that's why she has this psychic ability.
Oh, so did she die for 3 days?
No, that was the Feng Shui master's son who died for 3 days.
Wait, multiple babies die in this movie?
Yes.
It's a common thing.
Okay. You fast forwarded around a lot, Ayaz. I watched it all the way through. Yes. There is, because that's one of the ways that the young daughter and the son of the good Feng Shui master are bonding together, because he explains to her why she has the abilities that she has, because the two of them share this same sort of situation in their lives. You also find out, like, the youngest daughter, there's some things I skipped over. Like, the young daughter is, she's got a crush on one of two twins, identical twins. One of the two twins dies. Happens to be the one that she's enchanted by. She's walking, there was one point in the movie where she's walking with the twin who will eventually die. By the way, spoilers. So she's talking with him, and he says that if there's ever a way for him to come back after he dies, he will, and say hello to her and be with her. So it's supposed to be this kind of sweet scene, but it's a little odd. So he does die, and at the very end of the movie, she's walking through that same area with the surviving twin. Then she sees the dead twin who has taken the place of the surviving twin, which gets super creepy for me. Oh, and I also forgot to mention the caretaker at the beginning that we see. The caretaker of the cemetery, who is the guy who's like, I'll see you really soon. That actually ends up being the adopted brother. And when we get to the end of the movie, when all the curses are being reversed, the evil Feng Shui master had told the brother, hey, if that old couple gets reburied in good Feng Shui, then all of the curses we've laid down will return upon us 100-fold. And as a result, the evil Feng Shui master is pierced by a cross. He's impaled and killed by a big stone cross from the cemetery, which, by the way, we never see where those are. It just appears out of the sky and skewers him. And the adopted brother, instead of being killed, is driven mad by fear, and then he eventually, you realize he has turned into this crazy guy who has now just the caretaker for the cemetery. I forgot to mention that in my summary.
I've got my next note is there an arranged marriage going on? Because that's what I picked up on. 1950 in. I'm losing hope for this movie. Singham was subtitled, so it can't be that's causing my lack of interest. 2909. I haven't paid attention in a long time. There's some kind of prayer ceremony, and my speakers sound like they are crackling. There is nothing redeeming about this movie so far. It's shot plainly. The acting is, I'm not sure because I don't know the language. But the people do seem disinterested. Apparently, the old man is the father to every character in this movie. There's a big car accident in this Toyota minivan. Toyota flipped. I guess mom died. Wait, it's not death. It's some other kind of ceremony. I guess I'm not well-versed in different cultures. This movie was made in Thailand. The bot reference should have been a tip-off. 40 minutes, 39 seconds. What? What is happening? Okay, so some kid has ESP, a girl has visions, and I don't care. 49 minutes in, I think I'm going to quit. 54 minutes in, okay, hopefully somebody watched this. What talking about one of you guys, really. 55:50, off. Where is the horror? So I turn off the movie at this point because I want to see the description. It says it's a horror movie, and so far at this point, nothing about this movie is terribly like horror-like. So I watched 55 minutes of this thing on and off. I started fast forwarding at the end. I have no notes about this, but like as I'm fast forwarding the last half an hour, it looks fucking amazing. They're like effects going on. There's people like it, as I find out now, rushing to a grave site, but it looked really like they were rushing in the video because I'm making it go very fast. There's people being dug up. There's all kinds of crazy shit that's going on, and then the credits start. I'm like, how come the 30 minutes that I fast forwarded seemed way more exciting than the 55 minutes I watched that didn't have a hell of a lot going on? It's very like, I guess it was cerebral. I guess that was the idea they're going for. But it looks like there was a hell of a lot of action. And thanks to your description, Jonathan, I now found out what the hell happened. It's the idea that they were trying to rearrange the burial of parents so it would reverse a curse 100-fold. Why do curses always work like that in fucking movies, by the way? It's like, by the way, if the curse is undone, some serious shit's going to happen.
What's weird? Well, I mean, because you're invoking, supernatural powers to do your bidding. So if you screw up, then the supernatural powers are like, "Hey, man, I did my part, but now you're gonna have to pay for it, big time."
Well,
like,
shouldn't wouldn't that be a deterrent to not do that? Since like it always happens in every fucking movie ever. You ever watch The Mummy?
Evil is stupid. See, that's the problem. Is that evil is stupid, and they try to go for the shortcut to success. And that sometimes means you take a couple of risks, like the fact that the evil you visit upon other people gets returned upon you 100-fold. What I thought was funny was that, I didn't see any indication that the parents had been buried in bad feng shui. Like, I didn't notice anything about the evil feng shui master overseeing the burial of the parents. And in fact, the parents had been consulting with the good feng shui master about where their funeral site was going to be. They had been told that it needed to face a certain direction, it needed to be close to the water, that all of these things would be of great benefit to them and to their families. And so I didn't see any point where the evil feng shui master was able to step in and mess things up. But apparently that's what happened. And it's only when the son of the deceased good feng shui master goes to the gravesite and he consults this thing, and he has one and the evil feng shui master has one. And it looks almost like a compass, except it has a whole bunch of writing on it. It's a disc that has a rotating element on it with a little arrow and everything. And that apparently is what they use to see how things are aligned and whether it lines up according to the principles of good feng shui or bad feng shui. I'll tell you what the most disappointing thing about this movie was for me, apart from the fact that it could not maintain the level of incredible ineptness that was on display with the first car crash victim thing that happened in the first minute. That was the biggest disappointment. The second biggest disappointment, and I suspected this was going to be the case, was that our discussion last week of what we thought the movie was going to be like was way more entertaining. Like, I still love the idea of a character walking into a house saying, "Hey, wasn't that plant over in that corner yesterday?" And then their eyes just start bleeding. I thought that would have been hilarious. But sadly, we don't get anything quite on that level here. It is funny, though, that like almost all the harm or good that is visited upon any character in this movie is due to feng shui, with a few little differences. Like, you do discover the adopted brother was directly responsible for killing Boy, for example, and I think one of the twins. Like, he was the one who actually killed those characters, as opposed to, evil feng shui messing with their lives. But yeah. How about those subtitles forcing you to pay attention to the movie so you couldn't really, turn that off?
You can get a feel for like, and immediacy or panic or anger. You can get like a lot of feel just by the noises, right? Just by the actual audio cues. And from the 55 minutes I saw of this, everyone was really flat. And even when like there was one scene where they're in this before the car crash, the mom was kind of like she's somewhat visibly irritated about something, and it just comes off like she's just mildly irritated. The old man is sitting there and he's just kind of like, well, yeah, that's fine. It just seemed like maybe these are really subtle performances that I'm just not getting. Maybe this is brilliant. Maybe if I spoke the language, I'd be like, oh my gosh, he really delivered that line in a way. I did not see that coming. You know, that's it's very different. But I have no fucking idea because I'm reading this whole thing and it doesn't have a lot of passion behind it. And considering the high stakes involved, you think there'd be a little bit more immediacy to what they're saying. It just seemed it seemed slow and plodding. And I don't know if that was because, again, I couldn't pay attention well enough, or it just kind of is that way. It might have just been a bad movie.
I will say that one of my favorite moments in the film involved when the son of the good Feng Shui master comes over to the warehouse office. You know, it's for their grand opening at time, and when he gets there, he looks and he sees the dragon and the lion on top of the dragon, and he looks at, you know, he's looking around at the elements which clearly are significant to him, but not necessarily significant to us. Like there's no way to communicate why these different elements are bad feng shui or what the consequences of that happen to be. We just know that the bad feng shui master designed it, but we don't know what makes it bad feng shui. There's no explanation, but it's very clear from the look on the young feng shui master's face that things are not right. And that was another moment where I was like, okay, this movie's winning me back a little bit because this is just so weird to me. But sadly, it didn't go quite far enough. So, yeah, it was one of those things where I kept on hoping for more, but it never quite delivered at the level I was hoping for.
Yeah, so Jonathan, you picked this movie, and you said in the beginning of the episode that you're not sorry for picking it. I am very sorry that you picked this fucking movie.
You didn't even watch the whole goddamn thing.
I try. Just think about that. I watched less of it, and I'm still annoyed by it. It wasn't as bad. This is not as bad as Eric's pick of that animated thing.
The
Strange. Yeah, the space one, whatever the hell it's called. It's almost as bad as that.
But I will say it's definitely no a talking cat ? Exclamation point ?
You know, I was thinking about this idea. You know, I was looking for a shitty movie. I was looking for another Mummy Maniac, and I think that's a lie. I don't want to see anything like that. I don't want to see anything like this again, where it's just kind of like, for 55 fucking minutes, and it's apparently awesome in the last 30. Maybe I'll watch the last 30 tonight.
It was awesome in that first minute too. Come on, man. That special effect was so bad that it was awesome.
I agree with you that it definitely seemed like at the very beginning we're going to have some promise, because if the caretaker of the cemetery happens to be Death, which I thought would be pretty fucking cool, because he's like, I'll see you later. Because he actually, that guy actually talked like that. So I don't know what language he's speaking, but he's like, but you know that guy's evil. Like right away, you're like, there's something wrong with that guy. Nobody else does that in this whole thing. No, this is not Go Into the Woods bad. It's close to Strange, whatever the hell that movie was called from Eric. But this might be your bad movie. This might be it. Because, I mean, you've picked pretty good stuff. This might be the shittiest thing you've ever picked.
I still think it's, well, I mean, I'll take it. If you think this is the shittiest one I've ever picked, I'll take that, because I still think, like you said, it's miles better than the shit you guys have picked in the past.
I agree with you. I'm not. Hey. I did not say it. I said it's almost as bad as one of Eric's. Almost as bad. I do know what the next film I want to pick is, but I need to ask to see if you guys. No, this one's not. I mean, this one was panned pretty badly, but I have a special reason for wanting to watch it. But it may be that one or both of you have already seen it. Have you guys seen VHS Viral yet? No, I haven't seen it yet.
All right, save that one for my next pick, because the reason why I point that out is one of the segments in VHS Viral stars a guy that I know that I have acted with on stage here in Atlanta, and now he's out in Hollywood doing movies and stuff. So that one, I want that one to be my next pick. And that one, it may end up being one of those things where like, we might not have anything good to say about it, but I can tell you funny stories about the guy who was in it.
I was actually, when I was looking for another movie, because after I quit at 55 minutes and I fast forwarded, I'm like, I'm going to watch something. And I was close to picking VHS Viral, actually, because I'd seen there was a bunch of those. It was like under the new releases. I'm glad I didn't bother. I ended up putting Saw on instead, which I've seen a million times. But like, man, just, you need like a palate cleanser. So Eric, you get to pick, right? It's your turn?
Yeah, it is. And I just realized that before we started. So I have actually,
I'm so fucking scared.
Do you want to go on a search right now while Jonathan and I chew the fat? Or do you got something?
Here's what I'm not picking. I'm not picking codependent lesbian space alien seek same. I am not picking that.
That does sound to me like it would be the exact opposite of whatever Feng Shui was.
It's also only 75 minutes. So, not so bad.
But what I do want to do is 200,000 Dirty, starring Coolio.
Oh,
200,000 Dirty. You have to spell it out or something?
Yeah, you do. Oh, Jesus, look at this.
Oh, I've seen this cover a bunch of times.
This
is what you're picking?
Neither of you had watched it. It was because it's 2012, so it's kind of recent.
Two I like the idea that retail store flunkies coast through life until a sexy new colleague devises a scheme to score nearly $250,000.
So which one do you think is the sexy colleague? Is it Coolio?
I'm assuming they're not in the photo, hopefully.
I am, so it gives me 2.2 stars as my prediction.
I got 2.3.
So you're right at the average.
Yeah. For PWP, again, PWP, I have a profile where I rate movies I really dislike very highly. It says 1.2 stars. So this might actually be a good movie.
Yeah.
I don't know. We said that about Twist of Faith.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, but we all just kind of agreed it was acceptable. It wasn't a good movie. It wasn't
insulting
horrible
to my intelligence.
Well, I mean,
anytime you have a character show up on screen and it has to have a giant sign come on saying Jewish, then that's...
Oh, yeah. True.
You know. All right, I have added 200,000 Dirty.
Yeah.
I think this is an excellent choice. I think you were right in your guess about me not having seen it. I have not. So
it's a dark comedy. It's an independent movie, and if you look for Timothy Anderson, the director, on Netflix, he's done one movie on Netflix.
Fantastic.
200,000 Dirty. Why did you find this? This movie is gritty, understated, dark, and deadpan. At least it's in English. So
true. Actually,
this
is his only feature-length film. Everything else he's done is a short, and there's only 5 of those according to IMDb.
This can't be. Why the hell did you pick this? I mean, from the picture of Coolio, where he's rocking like a reverse mohawk with the rest of his hair put up in like Batman-like ears.
Listen, here's what I did. I was going through Netflix looking for movies, and I saw Coolio, and I was like, I bet that's horrible. That's how I picked this.
Oh, I happen to know something. I think my turn's coming up, and it'll be around April. So I do this little show over at this place I work, and I take a real good, fine look at what's coming up on Netflix. And coming up on the first, guys, is Leprechaun 4, Leprechaun in Space. Also, Leprechaun 6, Back in the Hood.
Back to the Hood. Yeah. Yeah, so I know that.
Leprechaun 1, 2, 4, and 6 are coming April 1st.
1, 2, 4, and 6. So we missed the first in the Hood, because that's 5.
Right. He's in the Hood. That's 5.
Back to the Hood.
Back to the with TH. Yeah.
Yeah, back to
the
the
number 2.
I thought it was just Thanksgiving rules and the fact that there is no 3. Just didn't exist.
No, there really is a Leprechaun 5, which is Leprechaun, in the hood.
Yeah.
So
I think it was something, I can't remember the tagline, something about like, you'll never believe this rap or something. It's something horrible. So maybe I'll go for that in a couple of weeks. But like,
since we've already watched one of the Leprechaun films.
Hey, I said either I'm going to do sequels or go out of order. We might start with 6 and then I go back to 4. But
That's
I know
fine. For the Left Behind series, we only watched the second one.
That's right. I still want to find Kirk Cameron Saves Christmas. I think that should be like a giant episode where we have a meetup where we all sit and watch it.
I have high hopes that by the holiday season next year, that will be available for us to watch somewhere free on streaming. Legitimately free on streaming, not just, not a piracy type thing. Because I believe in following the rules, but I also don't want to pay for it, not directly.
Well, I don't even care if we have to pay for it. I can't find it to buy it. Like, why is it not distributed?
Wow. That's a special kind of hell that you have entered into when there's not a legitimate way to purchase it. Like,
it's got to be awful.
That's like just crying out, like, I have all this money sitting around and no one will sell me Schlitz beer.
Yeah.
I don't know where you can buy it. You can buy tickets now. Let's see if this actually works.
Maybe it's just that it's not. It hasn't entered any home theater yet. Home theater.
Oh, you're just seeing the website. The website still says find a theater and buy tickets.
I'm trying to. It says not found. It's like if I'm trying to actually pay Kirk Cameron money to watch this thing, I should be able to do it. Or I guess I could watch his trailer like 90 times. That'll do it. Or 45 times. That'll be about the same amount.
There you go.
Oh boy.
So I'm looking at the reviews for 200,000 Dirty. If you guys thought Feng Shui was a slow-moving movie, I have bad news for you.
Oh dear God.
Because one of the reviews, let's see if I can read this verbatim. A real sleeper. Could not force myself to watch the entire thing. I am not a sadist. 1 star only because we cannot award negative stars.
Amazing.
There's about probably 100 Z's in that review.
Sorry for the 1 star Coolio. I was keeping my fingers crossed for you. However, you were the best actor in this flick.
Wow. Wow, that's an omen that we should heed.
So wait, did we watch Dracula 3000 for this show, right?
We did.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good because there's only 4 other Coolio movies left. There's Get Over It, Stealing Candy, which has a Baldwin and what appears to be a half-naked woman in the cover, China Strike Force, and Grad Night. I look forward to finishing the Coolio. Yeah, this not completed double trilogy, because clearly these are all related. I'm gonna imagine that this is related to Dracula 3000 somehow. That's gonna make this movie not suck. 200,000 Dirty. And when I pick Grad Night next week or Leprechaun, because they're about the same movie. God, I don't know. I don't know, man.
Stealing Candy, man. Oh, I just looked at what the description was, and that's going to be tough. 3 hapless criminals come up with a money-making scheme to set up a live internet broadcast of a famous starlet engaging in various sex acts.
Starring Daniel Baldwin and Coolio.
Get Over It is Kirsten Dunst, Ben Foster, some other people, and Cisco.
Oh, it's that Get Over It.
I will say that Stealing Candy is recommended based on my interest in Bad Girl Island.
Yeah, me too. Thanks for that. Actually, I forgot that was your pick too, Jonathan. At least that one was so maddeningly just made you angry by the end. I was describing. I had a very bizarre night a couple of weeks ago, and I was trying to describe it like as a movie, and I was like, it's like Contact. You know, it's kind of good at the beginning, and then you're like, what the fuck happened at the end? And this person seemed to like Contact. So I said, it's like Bad Girl Island. That's how weird this. It was just a very weird night. At the end, you're like, what the fuck just happened? That kid,
If you
that's not the way this ends.
Referencing PWP films in conversation, no one will have any idea what you're talking about.
Well, the thing is, it starts
I think I've
a whole
mentioned Rock and Roll
conversation.
Frankenstein tons of times, and everybody's like, what the hell are you talking about?
You're better off not knowing. We have suffered on your behalf. You don't need to go through that.
Our archives are coming. You'll be able to listen to it.
I think it's funny that some of our listeners are now taking upon themselves to try and watch the same movies that we try to watch, which means that we're really only increasing suffering across the world.
Yeah.
And could you imagine if this is actually moving a needle at Netflix and they're like, well, people are watching this shit.
Yeah.
We should fight to keep that. We'll pay the 3 cents for that for the next 2 years.
The thing that's killing me is that there are a lot of movies that either were direct to video or almost direct to video that I remember that I really wish would pop up on Netflix, and I regularly do searches to check and see if they have, and I'm always disappointed that they haven't made their way there, because I keep thinking, like, who the hell is holding on to the rights of those films, or not trying to cash in on the opportunity to make a little money by having a contract with Netflix, because it's not like the movies are being watched any other way. And I don't have any answer for that. But there are certain movies like Dr. Giggles. I want to see Dr. Giggles again. It's not a good movie. The only time I ever saw it was on VHS when I rented it from a Blockbuster or some other VHS store way back in the day.
Didn't it star the bad guy from Darkman? Is that right?
Yeah.
That's how I know it.
He was a sadistic psychopath who poses as a dentist. Dr. Giggles.
I did see that. I think I might have seen that in the theater.
That's
impossible.
I had buttons like the pins that you would pin on your shirt. There were promotional buttons for Dr. Giggles, because I used to go to science fiction conventions, and a lot of the science fiction conventions had freebie tables, and they would have promotional items for movies on freebie tables. And one of them had promotional items of movies, and one was for Dr. Giggles, and it had 2 different ones. One said Dr. Giggles is out, and then a little sign pinned up next to it that says of his mind. And the other one said, or the doctor is out of his mind. The other one said the doctor is in, and then a little sign, sane. And so I remembered, I knew about the movie before it came out because I had the promotional buttons for it. But that's one of those that I always keep hoping will pop up on Netflix. And that's the thing, is that I know there are a lot of bad movies that are genuinely fun to watch. It just seems like Netflix tends to have a stranglehold on bad movies that are just boring or not interesting in any way. And that's the real shame, because there's plenty of bad stuff out there that would be fun. It's just not on Netflix.
I'm just really curious if, like, these movies that kind of suck, they just had some kind of great or really poorly written contract with some musician where, like, they got some awesome rights when it comes to the royalties. And they're like, listen, Dr. Giggles will get Mariah Carey like $8 million every stream because she has a 3-second clip in there and we have no idea why it's in there. It was incidental music and it totally fucked us up, and now we cannot run it. Could be something like that, which I hope is the actual story.
Yeah.
Wasn't that the problem with the Wonder Years for a while? Like, they couldn't get the rights to all the music. Yeah.
And Daria. These 2 shows were like screwed. You could not watch them unless you watch them with. There's another show. I want to say, like, I think 90210 as well, the original one. They have to cut out all of their not foreseen contract rights for, like, oh yeah, this band, Color Me Bad. Who the fuck knows who Color Me Bad is? I don't even know why that.
The State had the same problem because the State was on MTV. And so when it was on MTV, they had all this music that they could use. And then when they released the DVD, they had to go in and scrub all that and put in, tracks, temp tracks or whatever, royalty-free shit so that they could re-release the shows. But they couldn't use the original music. It was the same sort of thing. There's another movie. I keep hoping that Blood Salvage will eventually get added to Netflix, because I was in that movie, and it still remains one of my favorite low-budget niche horror films. And not technically I'm in it, but you would never see me. I mean, you'd have to pause it, go frame by frame, and even then you wouldn't see me. but I just enjoy it because I think it's legitimately corny in the right way. Like it knows what it is, but it doesn't pander to the audience doing that. It just is fun. It's just a fun horror movie. So if any of you out there see a copy of Blood Salvage, you should check it out. I bought one on eBay ages ago, but I don't know where it is now, sadly, because it was one of those movies that only came out for video rental. So for the longest time, the only price you could find on it was $99 because it was the price that video rental companies would pay, so they would make that money back by renting it out enough times.
Was this Blood Salvage from 19? Hold on, I just saw it.
1990 something.
Yeah, 6 used on Amazon, starting at $10.
There you go. I am.
We need to get
movie.
it. I think we need to digitize it.
Yeah. So here's the thing: like you won't see me, but I'm at the very beginning. There's a beauty pageant that happens at a Georgia fair. So it's like a state fair type thing. It's in a tent, and I'm sitting down in the audience. You can really see my dad because he's in the front row. He's one of the judges for the beauty contest because it turned out the guy who was running the PR for the film was also a member of a science fiction writers club that my dad is in or was in. And so he invited all the writers in the club to be the judges as extras for this beauty contest. So Dad's in front row. And if you look really carefully along the aisle, you can see me as a kid when I had hair even. But the movie itself is just tons of fun and absolutely ridiculous. One of the characters is played by Ray Walston, the My Favorite Martian guy. He plays a seedy black market organ dealer for doctors. And Evander Holyfield has a cameo in it. It's pretty funny. It's worth watching. It really is ridiculous. It has some great lines in it. My favorite line in the whole movie, the main character is this crazed salvage yard owner who also performs surgeries on people and sells the organs to Ray Walston's character. He keeps the people alive using whatever junk he has sitting around, so that way he can sell as many of their organs as possible before he has to feed whatever's left to his pet alligator. He becomes enamored of a character, helps her. She's paralyzed, but his treatments against all odds work, and she is able to stand up, and he's overcome by the fact that it's actually worked. And then she tries to escape, and he catches her again, and he says, I can't believe you did this. I made you walk again, and the very first thing you do is run out on me. And I'm like, oh my God, that's the best line ever.
Dude, I think I just found the entire movie on YouTube.
Really? Someone has
I just looked
put it up on YouTube?
It's an hour, 37 minutes, and 52 seconds. It says Mad Jake, 1990, also known as Blood Salvage. John Saxon, full movie, 4,085 views, 7 thumbs up, 1 thumbs down. It's available right now for free, illegally, at YouTube. And if you're actually watching this live, shockingly, I'm in the chat room at GFQ, and I actually put the link there. You can find it. There's a beauty pageant. There it is. I have to look for. I don't know what your dad looks like, so this doesn't work.
I'm telling you, we can use that as a pick. In fact, I'll be willing to push back VHS Viral if you guys don't want to. I mean, Coolio's important. So
we can skip Coolio for this if we need.
We might have to like just immediately right after this episode wraps. We just download this video because this is going to be gone because we just mentioned it because we're so incredibly important.
Well, like I said, we're award adjacent, right?
That's true.
We're adjacent to award-winning podcasts.
I mean, I think we've individually won awards for shit. So,
yeah,
we're award-winning podcasters. So, not for this podcast. Nobody said that, right?
All right, so we will. We'll do. Let's watch Blood Salvage then. I mean, I'll watch it again. I've watched it several times.
Are we taking Eric's pick and we're just putting that on hold until the following week? Or Eric, are you switching your pick from Coolio and the gang to this thing?
Let's just switch it to Mad Jake. Let's do it, and then we'll
Mad Jake / Blood Salvage on YouTube. So if a little notification window pops up during the YouTube video, maybe not going to count that. I don't think it's annotated, which would be way more fucking irritating. It says I Heart Atlanta.
I am really curious to hear what you guys think of it, because obviously I'm biased. I also got to see the behind the scenes of some of the sets, and I saw them in natural light, so it was very dim, where you could barely see stuff, and it was super creepy. And the lighting in the movie, I think, is rather unfortunate, because I think it makes it less creepy because you can see too much. And that was one of the things that really disappointed me, was that the lighting wasn't like, when just walking through the sets when there was nothing going on was terrifying. So I was really looking forward to seeing how it would come across in the film. But I'm just curious to hear what you guys have to think about it, because maybe you'll watch it and you think this wasn't entertaining at all, and that's legitimate if that's the way you feel. So I just know that I'm going to go bonkers watching it again. I love it.
Anyway, let's take a look into the future next time on Podcast Without Pretense.
Man, I could really go for some Kate's pickles.
You know, I was thinking Salvage, and then Blood, and then I was thinking Jake, and then Mad.
Aren't blood capsules expensive? I thought they were expensive. Like, I don't know.